Aloha, beautiful golden galactic celestial pod on the planet. Bliss here to share a little love stream on welcoming the divine feminine back to the planet. So we are in some big astrological shifts and changes beyond time, beyond astrology. We are in the great return of the goddess, the divine feminine, to the planetary body and to human consciousness. So today I'm guided to share a little love stream with just the pieces that are coming through and what we are tracking to support our human family to understand the transformation that is happening and how to flow with that transformation, how to align ourselves with this transformative wave that is occurring through us all. So just like when we go surfing, when we are surfing, if we know how to catch the wave, we get to ride it. If we don't know how to catch a wave, we don't know how to ride it. We miss the wave. So we'll preface this by saying that on the 31st of March, there was a delegation of First Nations that took a message to the Vatican, that delivered a message to Pope Francis. And that message was to revoke and dissolve the papal bull. And that is connected to the doctrine of discovery, which pretty much enslaved every human soul in the fictional fiction. And that's done. So I put a link down in the description box there if you are interested to read about the delivery of the message by the First Nations delegation to Pope Francis on the 31st of March and April 1st. It's extremely profound, and what it represents is a huge shift and transformation on the planet. It represents the unlocking of the true divine feminine energy. And as this energy unlocks, everything in our world is about to shift and change. So if we understand how the transformation is affecting us inside, we can also navigate our lives and come into a true alignment with what is happening energetically for us all. So what is happening is that the feminine energy is waking up on the planet. And as the feminine energy wakes up, feminine beings wake up to the power of their womb. So the womb space of the feminine body is the access portal to 0 point. And in the fictional fiction, this is why the fictional world was all built on harvesting and harnessing the feminine energy without inviting the voice of the feminine in. I included links down here from a love stream that I brought through a transmission on the 11th of January 2020, and it was just, probably about 5 weeks before Corona was announced, which is the awakening of the crown. And in that love stream, it was almost 3 hours long, and it was a transmission coming through from the guidance about how the clan mothers were left out of creation, essentially. And when treaties were drawn up with indigenous people, we will say that it was probably mostly through force, the feminine energy was intentionally left out of those treaties. The clan mothers were left out. And so that's what that transmission is about. So if you're interested to track all these things, then you can go to some of those links down in the description box to understand what we're sharing here in totality today. So the metaphor of the First Nations people going forth to the Vatican to have a private audience with Pope Francis to invite the revoking of the papal bull. This is a clear sign that we are about to go through massive transformation on the planet. There is a phrase that says, the meek shall inherit the earth. And many miracle years ago, we said not only shall the meek inherit the earth, the meek are inheriting the earth. And part of that energy of what is called the meek is how in the fictional fiction world, the feminine energy was tainted with the expression of being called the weaker sex. And so that is going to prove its fallacy now, because the power of the feminine to invoke grace within us is our power to source consciousness itself. And this is all programmed in the genetics. So basically all I'm doing is reading the genetic code from the 64 codons that make up the human in the fictional fiction. And so weakness is a shadow frequency and a shadow perception of what the feminine energy really is, because the feminine energy is creation itself. So as the feminine energy wakes up in everyone on the planet, masculine and feminine, as the feminine energy wakes up, there is a great transformation, a great migration that is about to occur, which is that feminine beings start to wake up to the power of their womb. And they begin to draw their power back from giving their consent to creations that are not in alignment with the well-being of all life. The feminine begins to pull her energy back from creations that serve a pyramidal plan, a world of 1%ers on the top, while the rest of the world is in a less disadvantaged state, and while the planet is being disrespected as well. So as the feminine wakes up her awareness and begins to withdraw the power of her womb from receiving energy, from being in partnerships that are not respectful of life itself, the world transforms. Because that is the message to the distorted patriarch, to wake up from the delusion of the fictional fiction. And as the masculine starts to notice that the feminine draws her energy back and does not give her consent to using the power of her womb, to recognizing the creative power of 0 point that is accessed through her body, the masculine begins to wake up. And as the masculine wakes up and that feminine energy starts to restore in their heart chakra, the masculine begin to transform as well. So we start to move into a much kinder, softer, gentler world. And that's what's happening now. And so all of the co-creations and all of the collaborations that will have success on the planet are collaborations and creations that have tenderness and sensitivity at the heart of what is created. And it will be creations that benefit the well-being of all. And those creations won't come from the mind. So anything that feels exhausting for us in our creation now, if we are in creative states, if it feels kind of tiring and exhausting, it is not coming from the wholeness of who we are. It's still coming from the mind. And the transformation that is occurring in the body, as we say, as the feminine energy rises into the masculine heart, and as the feminine takes the power of her womb space back, new relationships will form amongst the masculine and the feminine. And a huge part of this is about finding the wholeness inside of ourselves. We merge those masculine and feminine energies. So we start to feel whole inside of ourselves. We don't need something or someone outside of us to complete us. Now we begin to form relationships with others that are whole. And that's where the creation collaboration becomes ecstatic. Because when people come into sovereign union together and understand that now on the planet in partnerships, we are here to welcome the feminine energy back to the planet. And it begins with our personal relationship with ourself and source, and then our relations with each other as well. So in primary partnerships, be them masculine, feminine, 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 masculine, masculine, this energy will be here for all. And it is about our capacity together to recognize the power of the feminine energy and to welcome that energy with honor. This is why all of the indigenous prophecies, traditions, teachings told us that the masculine would begin to wake up on the planet and realize the power of the feminine. In the fictional fiction, that was all designed to hoax the consciousness, to cover up what comes through the feminine body, which is obviously creation itself. Babies come from feminine womb space. So relationship transformation will occur as the masculine and the feminine both honor the feminine that is coming through the feminine form. The masculine soften, they transform in the things that they love to do. They are more in touch with nature. They're more in touch with relationships. They're more in touch with caring and sensitivity. And as we realize that our partnerships will be successful when together we honor, we welcome the feminine energy coming in as though we're welcoming a new child to the world. This is where the power of co-creation, collaboration, and divinely successful partnerships and creations will come from, is that masculine aspect of who we are being an absolute stand in honoring the divine feminine. And this is why all of the teachings told us that this time would come. All of the indigenous elders that I traveled with, that I was carrying bundles for, sitting in sacred circle with, all of the indigenous elders were saying to the masculine, it is time to be a stand for the feminine voice. I saw a beautiful share about a gathering that was in Australia many years ago. And it was, what was it called? I forgot the name, but it was a big gathering where a lot of indigenous, like the Kogi elders who never leave the mountains of Colombia where they live. The Kogi elders came, the Hopi elders came, many of the wisdom keepers and prophecy carriers on the planet came. And one of the things that the organizer at the event said at the end was that she was so touched to hear the Kogi elders say that all of their prayers and all of their ceremonies that they had been doing were for the feminine to find her strength from within, to rise up from oppression, and to find her voice. And that voice is the voice of wisdom. That's why in Solomon's prayer that was read at Trump's inauguration, it says, "Send her forth to us, for she knows your ways." And that was the acknowledgement on all of these levels that the true divine feminine was coming back to the earth, coming back to the planet. And so when we understand that inside of ourselves, be us in a feminine body or a masculine body or an androgynous body, it is for us to nurture and welcome this feminine energy in all, and to truly honor the feminine body that has been so persecuted and so disrespected on a mass scale on the planet. So there is transformation that must occur inside of us to remember how to honor our feminine energies, how to rise our feminine energies, how to merge our masculine and feminine energies inside of ourselves, and how to allow that to transform our closest, most intimate, personal relationships, how to navigate that transformation together, how to open up our communication intimately, and through exploration and discovery, through our willingness to truly be curious about the feminine energy, to allow that feminine energy to guide us all. So that's just a little tune in for today. And there's lots of links down in the description box for other videos. I've been sharing about the accessing of the mitochondrial DNA that transcends us out of two-strand DNA, which connects us to time and gravity. And I put links for the gathering of the First Nations Indigenous with Pope Francis in the description box. If you love these love streams, please go to my Unity Transmissions YouTube page. Give it a like, subscribe. When we have 1,000 subscribers, we can start doing lives from YouTube as well. And I have included meditations in the description box that are super helpful to bring us into our cosmic creative capacities. And there's also a few links if you would like to support these transmissions through a beautiful GoFundMe that the pod created, that has followed these transmissions for years, that loves them. And so the pod created a great GoFundMe if you want to participate in that, or there's other ways to make contributions as well. If you love this love stream and you find it inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. It's another way to support these transmissions. And yeah, we're just here to really support our human family, to understand that the feminine energy is rising in us all. And it is the most beautiful celebration on this planet as we witness the transformation of ourselves, our relationships, our communities, our world, the dissolution of borders and boundaries and taxes and passports and things that have separated our human family in this world are all dissolving, because the feminine wisdom does not divide. She unifies, she synthesizes, and she is here and fully present to synthesize our human family for all. If this love stream is inspiring, please share it. That's called gifting. We love we so much. Aloha.